arrogant, too arty, too big, too confused, too cluttered, too dangerous, too limited, too self-conscious, too sentimental, too sloppy, too shy, too subtle, too thin, too little, too much. The excessive is our preferred value judgment. Which extremes do we value? The kinds of extremes we find objectionable are gouges, gauges, gauges of our attitudes and values.
Just as all vision had its blind spots, all images have a field of eclipse. Creating the image is only part of the problem. Somehow the image must penetrate the viewer's mind. Images as complex structures are subject to a whole range of snares, traps and blockages. And they always carry with them a great deal of additional information.
In what ways are we mindful of our failures? Sometimes, of course, not at all. There are times when pain blocks a conscious recognition, when our failure taints our own abilities, and what we and others expect of ourselves. It is generally felt that we own our failures in a different sense than our successes. We share success. Failure, no matter what, is more private. Thus, we conspire to protect our friends from their failures. This illusory protection adds another layer to the pain, sometimes even damaging those it tries to protect. This is the failure in failure. By comparison, the original failure is refreshingly simple and minor. The difficulty we have in containing failure is probably the reason some people view it as contagious, like a disease. And yet, the emphasis is not quite right. A failure, when recognized, is never so serious as when it isn't recognized. A balance is restored. We would even say that an acknowledged failure does not exist.
Inventors, I suspect, have a very high failure rate, but their attitude of try again protects within society the freedom to persevere. Edison once said he failed his way to success. Nowadays, we tend to make collective the kind of individualism that Edison represented. Now we do things in groups. Someone gave me a quote from the Silicon Valley executive. We tell our people, he said, to make at least 10 mistakes a day. If you're not making 10 mistakes a day, you're not trying hard enough. Imagine the change if we valued a list of major failures on a person's resume. If it is true that only failure or anticipated failure is the author of change, a list of failures would be more revealing than a list of successes.
As a scientific method, the ideal experimental sequence is to make predictions based on observations and then look for the facts to prove them. And then As a scientific method, the ideal experimental sequence is to make predictions based on observations and then look for the facts to prove the hypotheses wrong. You look for failure and hope you won't find it. This is the middle ground alternative to looking for success. But it is still several steps away from seeing failure as a positive.
We may fall short of our goals, but even in our failures, those things for which we strive somehow endure, precisely because we're striving for them. Serious stuff, guys. They have an intentional existence. We intend, that is, lean toward, a more perfect state. And the goal of that dream or striving locates itself mysteriously in the work. I'd like to suggest that some great works of art might themselves be failures, and, moreover, that their failure contributes to their greatness. I also think it is possible that there is a more genuine content in failure than in success. Sometimes the failures of big ideas are more impressive than the successes of little ones. For several years, publicly acknowledged success has been more valued than it used to be, and this affects all of us. When failure represents a terrifying possibility, playful experiments in art are more difficult. When every work is called upon to be a success, we lose the option of failure. This is perhaps a more expensive loss than the gain of success.
Note.
This
Is
revised
version
Of
and
an essay
written
for
the
exhibition,
the
success,
of
failure
created
by
Joel
Fisher,
for
for
independent,
curators
in
New
York.
the
First
Failure
shows
originated
in
Fisher's
studio,
when
lived
in
London,
in
the
1970s.
70s.